Hello and welcome to the Brass Junkies. I'm your host, Andrew Hitz, and I'm joined today by my inspirational and influential co-host, Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you?
I am inspiringly informational.
That was spectacularly awkward. So
I'm incoherent, as it turns out.
There you go.
That's better.
So this is going to be a short intro because we actually remembered to do the ads in the podcast. How about that?
Pretty good. Once in a row.
I think that is once in a row. Exactly. We were joined today by the tuba player of the North Carolina Symphony, Seth Horner, who is a dear friend and who is just a fascinating dude. And you guys actually just met.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
He's a great guy. What an incredible player,
and a fan of the show, which was kind of funny.
A big fan of the show. He's, as we talk about, he texts me regularly after TEM and or Brass Junkies episodes, with specific comments about what he enjoyed. So, which is always pretty neat. So, we talk at the end of the conversation with Seth because we were busting on him for not being a Patreon patron, because nothing says class like asking someone to do an interview for no compensation and then making fun of them in public for not giving you money. But class has never stopped us from asking for a buck. So, patreon.com/thebrassjunkies. You can learn all about becoming a patron for $1 per episode. You can you can hear all of the bonus episodes, which is we just had a really fun one with Seth. But we also we have 4 new podcasts, which are monthly, which are only available to our Patreon patrons. You'll hear about that towards the end of the talk with Seth here, or you can go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn more. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that we are going to ask you if you would like to help the show. You can go to iTunes, you can go to Apple Podcasts, you could go to Stitcher, you can go anywhere that you can leave a rating and a review, and you can go ahead and do that. That's a one concrete step that you can take if you would like to help the show. So, Lance, how are you? Other than that, I mean, how's life?
I was sick for a while. Thank you for asking. I know you don't actually care, but thank you. I will pretend like you mean that and let you know that I had this terrible cold and I had this lingering
voice,
situation that finally kind of, it's just, but it culminated last Friday, and now I'm back to full health, vim, and vigor.
You had the culmination of a lingering situation.
That's right. And keep an eye out. In fact, by the time this airs, the very first Modern Musicking show will have made its appearance, about a 15-minute video program that I'm very excited about, and it's another offshoot of Petaluma Media, so I'm very excited.
Petaluma Media. I like it. There you go.
Very cool.
Well, for those of you who had the over on the over-under of 99.5 that Vegas set for how long it would take us to do a deep dive on mouthpieces, if you took the over, then you won. And anyone that bet that it was going to be a tuba player, or that it was going to be coming off of a sarcastic question, then you won a bunch of money. So please go to Patreon. Sorry, just kidding. So anyway, enjoy this wonderful conversation that we had with tubist extraordinaire Seth Horner. We are joined by an old friend of mine who also goes way back until at least 10 minutes ago with Lance, and that is the tuba player of the North Carolina Symphony, Seth Horner. Seth, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Great. Lance is underwhelmed. So you got to forgive him. All he knows is that you're my friend, which makes him appropriately skeptical to begin with.
I'm just whelmed.
You're well. You're well.
During the last 10 minutes, I made no impression on you.
That's right. Neither over nor underwhelmed.
that actually puts you in the top third, so that's good that
That's fine. Yeah,
he doesn't already. Yeah, Lance is grumpy, so he's not
getting more
really,
so by the day.
He just plays a grump on TV. So
when we had the video feed on just a second ago, I noticed you were smiling a lot, Lance, which when I listen to the podcast, I don't always envision that.
Yeah, fair.
You got a nice smile.
Oh, you're a peach.
Seth is sitting out there in podcast land thinking, man, Lance must get paid a lot of money to do that podcast because he sounds miserable.
He's so miserable. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, I'd go back out on the road for 6 to 7 months a year again for a price.
That makes one of us.
It'd be a prohibitive price. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to give me $10 million for 6 months out of 12, then yeah, I'll do that. So.
Is this a negotiation?
No, I'm just calling Lance's bluff that he wouldn't do it for $10 million. He's full of crap.
I got to stop you because the $10 million is going to be prohibitive for me, but.
But
we could get an angel donor.
No, I wasn't trying to raise the money from you. Yeah, we're not really interviewing you. We're just asking you for money.
This is a fundraising scheme. I get it. Yeah.
Seth listens to both Brass Junkies and the Entrepreneurial Musician frequently, and it is not uncommon for me to get text messages from him about episodes, which always surprises me. But right before he came on, he said, "Yeah, there was a number of months ago when I thought I should donate to those guys." He said, "I didn't,"
All right.
which I thought was funny. So
I felt I needed to be honest about that. It was a crossroads, but
every day I log into Patreon to see is Seth. No, still not. So,
no. But I do appreciate you guys doing this podcast just for me. I mean,
that counts.
It keeps me company in my car rides all the time, and I learn a lot. So this one's going to be weird because it's me on the podcast,
right?
And so I'll listen to it, but I'll be like.
Was there anything you'd like to say to yourself on your drive?
Don't forget to pick up the groceries. Yeah.
Oh goodness! All right, so tell us what do you do now that you are a full-blown adult, Seth?
Oh man, well, you mean now that I have a job playing tuba?
Well, and you're engaged, and you're crossing all kinds of adulting. Like you're knocking them all down. You got tenure, you got engaged, all within months of each other, right?
Yeah, I've had a good year, man.
Right?
Yeah. No, life is good. Life is good. I'm just out here. It's being a tuba player is the best job in the world. So spare time wise, it rocks. At least for my job, and I've got great colleagues and stuff. So there's no worries there, and so I'm just living my best life. I've got some tea here. What was your question?
I'm drinking a nice Costa Rican from George Howell coffee in Boston.
Nice.
Yeah, who's George Howell's a legend in the coffee world. He started the Coffee Connection, which got bought out by Starbucks way back in the day, and it's tasty. So
are you a pretty serious coffee like I don't want to say snob, but I would say
go ahead,
aficionado type, because I see your Instagrams and stuff. I feel like you're pretty hardcore. Is that true?
Yeah, I do. I do pour overs on the V60 at home, and I've actually been known to bring a pour over rig with an electric temperature controlled kettle on the road sometimes when it's a drive. So
you have to get that temperature up to get the red extraction. So
you do. Yep.
On that.
For the V60, 204 is usually what I shoot for. So you can also just put it at a boil and then let it sit for 45 seconds if to come back a little bit. But okay,
yeah. I've got a question for you. I know you're interviewing me, but do you add a stir when you brew your V60?
I do not. Stir? I do not. Uh-huh. I have seen people stir, but I am not a stirrer.
Okay.
Yeah. Nope, not a stir. Just
can we switch to something interesting like New England area sports teams?
Sure.
That'd be more fun to talk about.
You guys could talk about that.
I'd be happy to talk. I was kind of bummed I couldn't make the Patriots parade. But there will probably be another one next year. So I'm going to try and hit that one. So moving right along before we lose patrons. It was awesome that all of America was rooting against us, and then we made everyone watch a horrible game on top of it and still won. So that was some next level trolling. But so
was there something? There was something about the Saints and the Rams too that I was hearing about. I was listening to another podcast about this.
The Saints,
I have no idea.
The Saints
about
got
sports,
the Saints got jobbed. There was a non-penalty call that was probably because of it was literally a trip to the Super Bowl on the line, virtually so. Yeah. That was one of the worst, maybe you could say the worst call in the history of the NFL. So
yeah, I don't know. Emotionally, I don't know how you guys put yourselves through this because sports. It's just too much for me. It's too much. I can do baseball. We've got a great minor league baseball team here in Durham. I don't know if you're aware. Have you ever been to a game here?
I have not. I love minor league baseball.
You should come and go to a Bulls game because we have an amazing park. The Durham Bulls are the team that the movie Bull Durham is based on with Kevin Costner.
Right.
Have you guys seen that?
I sure have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so my house is like right around the corner from that the ballpark that's in that movie. It's pretty cool.
I might take you up on that. That would.
Yeah, you should come down, man.
That'd be fun.
I think the season's starting up this week or like spring training and stuff for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I love me some baseball.
What is this podcast about?
Wait, what kind of mouthpiece do you play, Seth?
Depends which day of the week.
Well,
no, it's a Michael Parker.
Hey.
It's actually not. Those are so expensive. Sorry, Michael. Love you. If I sold, I could probably afford one if I sold like 4 of the ones that I have, though.
That's pretty fun.
Which my fiance would love if I did. She found my box of mouthpieces. Do you guys have that?
No.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Well, she found the box. Like I have in the closet. I just had like this Amazon box of mouthpieces kind of packed away, and she was like, "What is that?" It was kind of a moment for us.
So is there? So, well, never mind. I'm walking away. Walk away. Keep nothing to see here, people.
Wait. Someone's going to be pissed if we don't actually make him answer. So, what mouthpiece do you play?
Right now on my C tuba, I play a Junkies 67. It's the new blank, but that's a full circle for me because my first like really mouthpiece that I used to play when I was starting was a Junkies 66 on the old blank. So how's that for nerding out?
What is a blank?
Well, like it's the chunk of metal that they make the mouthpiece out of.
So like it was old metal. Is that like a Stradivarius? Does it sound better?
I don't know. Yes,
I'm being a wise guy, but I actually don't know.
I have no idea, but I'm going to go with for sure 100%. It does make you sound better. Yeah, actually, well, Parker, you should talk to Parker about this because he has a bunch of I think he's got one of those collections of old mouthpieces. He's interested in that stuff.
He does. Yeah, he does. He's way in. Yeah, and Chris Hall are the two people who know more about mouthpieces than than I know about Fish or the Red Sox or anything. Yeah, it's impressive.
See, those guys probably both have the box that I'm talking about.
I bet you're right.
So shout out to Chris and Michael thanks, guys.
Well, it's a little early, but we're just going to segue right into thanking Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces, meaning you can fill your box with different cups, different rims, and different shanks for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model tuba mouthpiece. But let's be honest, if you have that, you don't need a box. It's just one-stop shopping. And the Lance LaDuke Model euphonium mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Now, somebody needs
they have that double bell euphonium mouthpiece too, right?
I know.
See,
there's photographic evidence now.
Like I said, Seth listens enough that he even knows how we bust on Parker and get people to email him for awful, ridiculous.
He sent us a photo of that one. I'm so honored.
Yep. Yeah, that was good.
So, how does the conversation go? She comes with holding this box of mouthpieces. What's the exchange? Are you both in the same room?
Well, that thing, I guess I can't imagine how this hasn't happened to you guys, but you have the crisis moment where you're trying to find the sound,
No.
the next, thing. And it's like you're
practice,
going,
man. I just practice.
Yeah, that's hard though. I mean, like, wouldn't you just rather put a mouthpiece in?
I like how Seth said that's hard, and Lance was like, "No, you don't." Anyway, sorry. All right, so you're looking for the sound.
Yeah, it's good to have friends. Yeah, like, well, I left it out, and she was like, she just found it and was like, and later that night was like, what's in that box? And it was like, oh, well, that's just my mouthpieces for, my tubas. I play the tuba, and those are the mouthpieces. She's like, yeah, but there are like 100 of them in there.
Holy crap.
It's not 100 of them. I mean, it's just like less than 100.
If you tell me that she's a trumpet player, I'm going to pee myself right now.
No, she's a hospital administrator, but she does play the banjo.
That counts.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't. not like being a trumpet player.
No, it doesn't.
I refuse. I refuse that.
You just offended Seth's honor. Yep.
Okay, so now in realistically, how many mouthpieces are in that box? This is an intervention.
I think there's probably around 35.
Holy cow!
Dude,
I hope I don't get disconnected because I'm switching over to my cell phone. I'm getting in the car and I'm driving south. We can finish the interview on the road.
Do you want to try some?
I've never owned.
No, you have to do interventions in
my life. I've never owned 35 mouthpieces. I mean, cumulatively.
Well, they just show up. I mean, it's like, well, here's one part of it is so my grandpa was a tuba player, so I have some of his old stuff. I have. Yeah, Lance, you just met me like 10 minutes ago. True. There's more to me than what the internet says. Like my box of mouthpieces.
That's good.
Yeah, seriously. So I had a bunch that he had and stuff like that. You just kind of you steal them from your middle school or whatever, and
35 though.
Yeah.
So your grandfather played the tuba professionally, or what did he?
No, he was a school superintendent. He was very. Both my grandfather and my grandmother were very much invested in the value of music specifically, and how important it was. Just in the world. And so the highest kind of thing that you could be was sort of like a musician. And so when we would get together, there was a family band. My dad plays, he used to play the clarinet. He sort of gave it up. But back in the day, it was like we'd get like a grandpa playing the sousaphone, dad's clarinet, my two uncles playing trombone and trumpet. And those guys would play like, New Orleans style jazz stuff and whatnot. Pretty simple, and grandpa had all these old timey like books, those little like marching books that used to be like a big deal. So yeah, we do that for family reunions and stuff.
So is he why you took up the tuba?
Yeah, he's a big part of it. I would say it's sort of like 50-50, just seeing the family band and always kind of like grandpa sousaphone is like I have many vivid memories of that from when I was like a little kid. And the other part of it was just the sound of the instrument, which I actually got from our first band director at the middle school I went to, just played it and was like, listen to the sound. And I was just like, wow. Like I love that. Yeah. And that Rick Wolfgang was the name of that teacher. He was awesome. He was a horn player. But it had a nice sound on the tuba also. That was the only other tuba that I had heard other than my grandpa. And it was different. It was very different. And I was like, I could do that. So, it's just that connection with the sound, which I think is really common for tuba players. I don't know if, Andrew, was the case for you, but.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah, not enough to like try different mouthpieces. But.
No, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was talking for the Jacob's Quotes podcast, which is available exclusively to Brass Junkies patrons at the $5 level. But in case some of you are like, wait, I've never even heard of that, and that's because it's only been around for like 4 episodes, and you have to be a patron to hear it. But I was just talking about a masterclass that Rex Martin gave when I was at Northwestern, and he assembled like 12 or 14 tubas in the recital hall at Northwestern, and he was playing all of them, and you know, the sound was obviously very different according to you know, somewhere it was very, very interesting, different brands and different sizes and things like that, and he was playing the same thing on multiple horns. Well, he got to a part about halfway through where he said, "Okay, I'm going to play this." I don't remember what it. Maybe it was Meistersing or something like that. I'm going to play this on 3 different horns, and I want you to tell me. You know, I want everybody to vote and tell me which one you preferred and why. And anyway, he played the first horn, and then he put it down, and then he actually very like silently took the mouthpiece out and then put a different mouthpiece in, and then, because we all had our eyes closed, and then lifted the same tuba. So then the second tuba, so he used the same tuba 3 times in a row with 3 different mouthpieces, and we were all had a strong preference, and it was 3 very distinctive sounds. Same guy, same concept of sound, same horn, different mouthpieces, and it was really eye-opening, actually. So I poo-poo because it's fun to do and it's easy to do, and I'm intellectually lazy. But there's absolutely something to be said for getting the, you know, good equipment makes it easy for you to sound like you're trying to sound, and you know, and hard. You're still going to sound like Seth Horner no matter what you're playing on, but it makes it a lot easier for you to do that when it's the right tuba and the right mouthpiece for what you're going for.
Yeah, and I actually was just listening to, there's a Jacobs masterclass that's I think it's on one of the TubeNet. I hate to bring up TubeNet, but it's on there. They just have it up, and he talks about like plugging in different mouthpieces and switching between. This is the nerdiest thing ever, but let's just do it. But
it's not the brass nerds, dude. Come on.
It's like the difference between like fundamental and like more brilliant overtones and the balance between those things. I mean, he was interested in that stuff and understood how to use it in some really cool ways. And one of the things he says is, he's like, we get bored on stage, so we try things, you know, which I was like, yeah, well, that's cool. But like, I don't tend to get bored on stage enough that I want to just mess around with, like, you know, big rep with different mouthpieces. So I'm actually not somebody that's like constantly changing up or whatever. I've been on this mouthpiece on my C tuba for like a year, and I'd say that's probably like par for the course. If I find something that works, I'll stay with it. But I'm not like that episode with Taga Larson where he's like, yeah, I play this, whatever, 1 1/4 C that I've had for 35 years. Right. I was like, man, what's that like? You know,
if the sound that comes out of your bell is that sound and you're a trumpet player, then you should throw, your mouthpiece box should have a mouthpiece in it, and it's just a backup. He's
probably got just a tiny box that he keeps that mouthpiece in, like a gold.
It's like an envelope that you put a spare key in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not normal.
You guys are dorks.
Well, you know, yeah. Well, I don't think I've ever seen any brass player in my life who is more efficient than Taga is. I'm sure I told this story when we interviewed him. It was just a long time ago, and I'm old, so I don't remember. But it was when I first joined Dallas Brass, which I was in with him for a year. And this is, if you don't know who this is one of the trumpets in the Chicago Symphony. He's an incredible, and Lance has known him for even longer than I have. Because you guys went to school together, is that right?
Yep, I knew him 86, 87.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so significantly longer than I have. We were in Dallas Brass together in 99, 2000 that season. But it was like the 3rd or 4th day of like our camp, you know, where we were like rehearsing. Like there were 2-3 hour quintet rehearsals a day, and I think it was maybe the 3rd morning where like touching the mouthpiece to my face was like hurt, because I had played, like, you know, it's quintet playing too. It's like a lot of playing. And Taga was like facing the wall, and he was like not trying to show off, but he was like he played the 30 seconds after he took the trumpet out of the case, he played the most soaring, gorgeous, beautiful version of the opening of Mahler 7 that I've ever heard in my life. And from behind, it looked like he was playing a long tone. I was like, I have no idea. Maybe he's a sorcerer. Like, I don't understand because I'm on the big mouthpiece that's supposed to massage your face, and I'm like, I'm playing on like bloody, shreds here, and he's just like, yeah. And I said, how are you doing that? And he was just very organically like, doing what? He's like, I'm playing the trumpet. Like, I think I have some things to learn. So.
Well, and like on a big week like that, you sort of stay warmed up in a certain way.
Right.
I mean, like you put the horn back in the case at night, and you wake up in the morning, and it's like your lips still humming a little bit. So
right,
I could see that. But I mean, that guy's just amazing. He's just amazing. So
yeah.
Yeah. What kind of mouthpiece were you using, Andrew, on that gig?
I was using. I'm almost positive
it was made of burlap.
That I was. No, at that point in my life, it was made of hemp, man. Yeah, it was like a hemp necklace, but it was like woven into the shape of a mouthpiece.
Was this in Oregon? Was this an Oregon gig?
No,
because they have that for you there, man. I'm sure.
I acted like I was living in Oregon, so even though I was not. I'm sure I was using a Con Helleberg, just like the old the old standby. So yeah, I used that for a long time. Although no, maybe Sam Palafian, little known tuba player, who's originally from Miami. He gave me a Monette mouthpiece that I used for a little while, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was like you needed a flight case for it because it weighed as much as the tuba did.
Yeah, that's your workout. That's your workout for the day.
But so it was either a Monette or a Helleberg, which the main reason I played the Helleberg was because if I lost it, I could get a new one at any large music store. That was kind of the thinking.
That's a pretty smart move, man.
Right?
I mean, I would never would have thought about that, but that's actually a good point.
It was fun when I had to contact Michael Parker when I left. I left my Parker mouthpiece at security at Dulles. That was fun. I was like, "So can you send me another one?" He said,
"You need to get that $10 million loan to pay for that." But,
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised both that it took us over 100 episodes to talk about mouthpieces this much in one episode, and that it's not with a trumpet player.
Well,
we're just sort of blowing all of it out of the water.
And that I started with a sarcastic question, and Seth was like, "I see your dare, and I tripled down on it."
Dude, I mean, I would apologize, but I listen to this podcast, so
yeah,
I know how it normally goes.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything you'd like to say to yourself now as you're listening?
I'm sure there was something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pick up the dry cleaning.
Oh, goodness.
You're like, dude, enough with the mouthpiece talk.
Yeah, stop talking about mouthpieces, man. Let's talk about buzzing on the rim.
So,
no, on the lead pipes.
Yeah. See, we can go all those places with Chris Hall, who we're going to have on. We just haven't. That dude can.
Chris, yeah.
He knows. Hi, Chris. Yeah, he knows more about mouthpieces than he's in the top 0.01% of all humans in terms of knowing that much about anything.
Now, which Chris Hall are you having on? Is it Chris Hall or Chris Hall? Because there are two.
I am talking New York City Chris Hall, not Michigan by way of Virginia Chris Hall. So yeah, it's all.
He's a good player. That kid.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, I first met him when he was like a freshman in high school or something. We met him at Fredericksburg Brass Institute and gave him a couple lessons over the years. Yeah, he's great. And then he went out to Interlochen, and now he's at the University of Michigan. So yeah,
man, I think it's nice that you guys are interviewing some younger people.
Oh, like you?
Like me and young Chris Hall. That's nice of you.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
How old are you actually?
I'm 33. I'm 33 now.
So much runway in front of you.
I'm going to be 34 in May. So I'm getting up there.
Oh, so you're 33 turning 34.
Yeah.
You're like a little kid. Yeah, exactly. That's like what 6-year-olds say. I'm 6, but I'm turning 7.
I'm turning 7.
I'm 6, but I'll be 9 someday.
My 4-year-old told somebody the other day that he was 15. Like with not a hint of a smile. Like, how old are you, buddy? And he said 15. Like, it was.
Why not?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
trying to get a driver's license, get that driver's permit.
You can't. Yeah, you can't really pick a fight with a 4-year-old or an animal. Like you know, in showbiz, you lose.
Yeah.
So
you really shouldn't.
So you,
I think it's against the law.
I didn't say. So you were the acting principal tuba of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra for 3 years, or 3 seasons, and who was it that you replaced?
I didn't replace him really, but I was. I came after Dave Federle's distinguished career. And Dave was there for like 30 years. Had a wonderful career with Baltimore Symphony. So many amazing recordings. I don't know if you guys. I mean, they have just an amazing discography with the Zinman recordings and stuff. I mean, unbelievable stuff. And Dave's on all of those. That Copeland disc with Billy the Kid and whatnot, Rodeo and everything. That was I think that was actually the first CD I ever owned. It was pretty cosmic.
Wow.
And I remember thinking man, this is so great. I love that music because, Copeland was always one of my favorite composers. So I was like, man, I want that, that music from the beef commercial. And that was the recording I bought just randomly. I listened to it a million times. And then it's so cool that eventually end up studying with him and then getting to sit in his chair for just a short amount of time.
Right.
And of course, like I said, I didn't replace him. And Aubrey is the true replacement heir to the throne, But it was pretty cool. I mean, that was legitimately an amazing thing for me to get to do. So.
Well, I know that he was super happy that you were in there after him. So yeah, what a run that he had. Yeah, I'm trying to the Symphonie Fantastique with Zinman. I wore out the Stravinsky, the Firebird disc and Petrushka. Yeah, I wore that out.
Zinman Fantastique. I think they're playing on 2 big C tubas.
No kidding.
I think that's on the. I could be wrong about this. Dave might get pissed at me, but I'm pretty sure. That's okay. It's happened before. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that's the one where they're playing big tubas and he's just all over the horn. It's so lovely, light, colorful, and then scary big sound, at moments.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Which mouthpiece was he playing on in that recordings? He sounded spectacular.
He's not only got a box of mouthpieces, man. He's got a store.
All right,
that's
I'll
true.
Give you that.
Which doesn't sponsor this podcast, so we'll not speak of it.
He has a bill. Yeah, I've never. That's not ringing a bell. So yeah,
I used to work there.
That's right. I forgot that.
Yeah, I swept the floors at the Baltimore Brass Company for a while.
Yeah, you worked there with Jeff Hudson.
I was a terrible employee, but I got to hang out with Jeff and Pete and those guys. Right. It was cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
What?
That was a cool job, but the Baltimore Symphony job was more cool, I would say.
Did they ever ask you to sweep the floors?
Well, they swept the floors with me sometimes.
Hey.
Yeah.
So, jumping back to Federle for a second, what is the most profound thing that he ever said to you during a lesson?
Oh gosh.
Or what's something that comes to mind?
Get a box.
Or a store.
Well, he's action packed with wisdom. That guy. I mean, if you unlock the magic with him, it's just nonstop. Yeah. And it's so much of what he taught me was I'm still discovering it. Right. I mean, one thing that he told me that I thought was really cool is just he's the most important teacher for music is your life, and using the experiences that you have, the feelings that you get when you're angry, when you're really, really sad, when you're tired, all that stuff. He's like, that's your sound. That's what's in your sound. And so and also just the weird things that happen with people, characters that you meet, you can use all that stuff. And for me, that really began the process of kind of unlocking some of the artistry that was possible, because if you're using your imagination, that stuff comes out and it's like, oh, I had no idea I could do that. But actually, if I just think about this emotion, I can make that sound because I experienced it. So it's like one of those things where I was just like, oh yeah, he was totally right about that. Yeah,
that's pretty deep, man.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I think you'll go back to the box if you want.
That was great. That was great. You've also studied with Mike Gross and Paul Kraswicki and Warren Deck, and you have no excuses.
I know, no excuses whatsoever. Yeah. I have had a lot of amazing teachers. Actually, my first teacher was Richard Frazier, who probably a lot of people don't know these days, but he was also an Arnold Jacobs student and was in the Chicago Chamber Brass back in the day. And he's a really wonderful player. He studied with Bill Rose and Mr. Jacobs. And he was one of the people very much like Mike and like Dave Federle, who like really, really absorbed that teaching, Jacobs's teaching. Right. And Frazier was the only other person that I studied with that taught me about phrasing. Like the phrasing technique that Jake used to teach, which was the tabby-toe thing, the tabby-toe method of, like building the phrase, like, sub-phrasing, that type of stuff, which I don't hear people talking about that much. I think woodwind players still do it. And David McGill has that amazing book, Sound in Motion.
Yeah, it's great.
That's all about that. It's a very cool book. But I don't hear brass players talking about that all that much. That stuff made such a huge difference for me. And Federle brought it back into focus for me. He was like, you need to be learning this. When I first got to Peabody to study with him, and that was something that took me from not advancing at auditions to advancing at auditions.
There you go. There's an endorsement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I talk about that all the time in lessons. I learned it from Ray Still, the oboe legend from the Chicago Symphony, when he was in his 80s at Northwestern. I took a chamber music class with him. Wow. And it was amazing. And he let me sit in on some things that didn't have tuba in them because none of the rep had tuba. And like I sat in like at the back of a Mozart, on like bassoon, and he like instantly started screaming at me because it was too loud, which, it's like, it's hard to play the tuba as softly as needs to be in like a Mozart octet. And he was like, kind of just give me this look like, he's like, I do not give a crap if it's hard. If you're going to sit back there with that big stupid thing, then you're going to play quieter. And I was like, it's like, yes, sir. Yeah. So
when the animals get out of their enclosure,
right,
it can be problematic.
So now you are in the down there in North Carolina. So can you tell us about that?
So I'm in the North Carolina Symphony, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina. North Carolina is nice because there's another Charlotte Symphony is right over across the way from us. Two really, really great orchestras, and there are a few smaller groups around the state too. So there's a lot of music here actually.
Yeah.
Which I had honestly had no idea about before I moved down here. Just like it's been a voyage of discovery, but it's a good scene. We do a lot of on the bus time in our group because we have an educational part of the mission, which is to perform for all the 4th and 5th graders of the state, basically. And we do one single program like 50 times a year in different parts of the state. So we like get on that bus. We go to wherever and play the thing down, and then we go to the next place. That's a big part of the job. But it's the other part is just the normal classical stuff, pops, and it's a really wonderful orchestra, and it really works. It's tight group, and we have a good hall. We have a good maestro who's like actually a nice person to deal with, which is wonderful in a maestro. And not always the case. Not always the case, as you guys know.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm very lucky. I mean, and my colleagues there are awesome. I think I feel like we're right at the pay scale where like you don't make enough so that you really feel like you're, the most amazing ever, but you make enough money where like you're happy. So like everybody doesn't have a big attitude,
right?
But it's all good too.
The structure of that band is slightly different than, if I understand it correctly, Kristen Danchi is in your development area, and she's a recent alum from Carnegie Mellon, and she came back and was talking to us about how the thing is structured. And if I understood her correctly, some of the front office folks are actually state employees.
That's right. Yeah, we're hooked in. We're hooked into the state. I don't have a really complete understanding of how that works, but it just gives you a sense of how invested the state is in what we're doing, and also the amount of their funding. You know, a lot of it. So the state is really giving a fair amount of money to this organization, and they have done that for a long time, like
a long term.
Years.
Yeah. It is kind of wild, especially if I start to go political. Somebody take me out at the ankles, but it's very, I think, unique in the country to have an organization that has a mandate from the state level to do those, you know, the educational programs that you do all over the place. And there's I think there's even some programmatic things. Don't hold me to that part, but just the fact that some of your the front office folks are also state employees. It's kind of a fascinating thing, knowing that politics is volatile and things change, and you know there's always an effort to look for ways to cut, and arts are often on the forefront of that, which is not newsworthy. But the fact that the state has embraced this and continued to embrace it through various climates in the last, like you said, 30 some years, it's kind of a remarkable thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's great to see, you know, society valuing the arts in that way. It's certainly not a given, but I think it's a major strength for this group. I know Utah's got kind of a similar deal. They have a lot of state, I don't know if it's necessarily funding, but they do the same type of education work that we do. That's the only other orchestra that I know that does it quite the same way. Although I did a lot of that stuff in Baltimore too. They work a lot doing education stuff. So I think that's a big part of the job, just wherever you are. But for us, it's a major deal for sure. And it's great. Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing, I think.
Well, I think this is a perfect time, since we've been talking about the state government of North Carolina, to talk about the music program at the Mary Papert School of Music at Duquesne University. There's a fantastic School of Music here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, up on the bluff, and it is the Mary Papert School of Music. If you'd like to find out about what is happening there in the brass area, we've got a link that will take you to a page created especially just for you, so you can find out about all the going on, the faculty, the organizations, the ensembles that you can be a part of. So please click on the link to be taken to that page, and very, very special thanks to Jim Squiddly-doo Nova. I don't know.
That was nice.
Squiddly-doo Nova.
So
the one I still, every time you do this, I just think bubble butt.
Bubble butt. I know that's kind of how I peaked early, but
yeah, you did.
All right, fine. Bubble butt it is.
That'd be like if the last movement of Mahler 2 was the first movement. It's like, well, the rest of the symphony's good, but we should put that last maybe. Yeah.
Skip to the good stuff.
Bubble butt.
Skip to the chorale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Rehearsal 10, exactly.
Bubble butt.
Is that the Superman theme? Is that what you were doing? Oh, boy.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. So, Seth, you won an audition for a military band, and you turned it down, which I thought was very interesting. Can you talk about your thought process there? It's obvious it's all worked out very well for you, but that's quote unquote not done. So because you did not have a tenure track position at that point. So what went into that thinking?
Yeah, that, I don't know. That might have been a dicey move. It was certainly a gamble.
Might have been a dicey move.
Yeah. I mean, so the job that I auditioned for was the Pershing Zone Ceremony Band, which is a really great gig, for those people that don't know. I mean, it's like, your hours. The colleagues there are really chilled people. And you can do some outside work in DC. You're going to be done, by a certain time on most days.
Kevin Gibo is not chill, just for the record. Yeah, he's a real pain in the ass. But anyway,
you're going to work with Gibo, exactly. I mean, I honestly, that was part of my calculus. I was like, I'm gonna get to play with Jibo if I take this job. That'll be great.
And then you said no.
Yeah. Well, at that moment, I was in a position where I had been offered to play another 1-year season with Baltimore Symphony.
Right.
And I actually talked to David Zirkle to get some advice about this. I talked to Federley, of course, and he was like, "Take the job."
I was going to ask you what he said. I figured that was his advice.
Yes, which was good advice for him to give me, and,
sure.
and I appreciated it and ignored it. But I always wanted to play orchestra, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, another season of the Baltimore Symphony for me is going to be worth, if I never play the tuba again, and I get this season, that will be worth it for me. Like,
was this in between your first and second seasons, or second and third?
I believe it was between my first and second.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, we had like Alpine Symphony on the docket that year. I think we went to Carnegie for Mahler 5. I was like, I want to play. I want to be in that chair. I want to experience those moments, and I want to play that music,
right.
while I can. Because you don't get to play that stuff. No, people don't just get to play that with a big orchestra.
Right.
It doesn't just happen. So that was my calculus. I mean, I was sick to my stomach when I called those guys up, and I was like, I'm not going to take it, and to their credit, they were so nice and understanding and, chill about it that,
It's not what I heard.
That's not what Jibo said.
Well, to me, they were really, really nice to me.
Wow, that took. I mean, you bet on yourself, and I wouldn't have not applauded you if you had taken it. But I applaud you for just kind of not doing, because what you're quote unquote supposed to do is to take the gig, right? I mean, take the gig.
I absolutely would. If someone else was in that position, I would tell them take that gig.
Right.
Take the gig. But for me, I mean, when you make decisions, it's really an interesting thing. This is another thing that Federley taught me early on. He's like, look, you got to trust your gut.
Right.
You have to trust your gut. You're going to know. And you need to trust that, because I don't know about other people, but I have always had difficulty trusting that part of myself that's like, this is what I want. But you have to listen to that. And so, there are these moments, and the crossroads that you arrive at is going to be different from somebody else. And you have to be able to look at it from your own perspective and your own priorities and values, and knowing where you've come from and where you want to go, and say, this is what I want. And sometimes it's pretty scary. And that was pretty scary for me. But I will say, my fiance, who at that time was just, we had just been dating a little bit. She, when I came home and was like, I won the gig, she was like, I'm so happy for you. And we were like drinking champagne. And I was like, I'm going to have to go to basic for like 10 weeks. And she just started crying. Oof. She was just like, and it wasn't that I was going to be gone for 10 weeks. She was just like, this isn't you.
Why not 12? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet she would have found that box of mouthpieces if you were gone for 10 weeks, and maybe the whole wedding would have gotten called off before you even proposed.
Yeah, man. Well, that's waiting out there in some alternate universe,
The butterfly mouthpiece effect. Yeah, there you go.
That's right. If I hadn't used the Shilky 66 back in 1998, which actually, speaking of 98,
we weren't, but go ahead.
That I don't think I ever told you this, Andrew, but that is when I met you. It wasn't 98; it was 2000 in Regina, Canada, at the International Tuba and Euphonium Conference.
Well, I didn't go to that.
Yeah, you were there.
No,
you were there.
I did not go to that.
You were there.
No, I did not go. I did not go to Regina.
Yeah, it was Boston Brass was playing. I saw you play.
I didn't join Boston Brass till 2000.
2000. That's when it was.
Kind of just making stuff up.
We didn't.
I know you were wearing purple.
Speaking of 98, back in 94, I saw you play with Canadian Brass.
Well, 98 is 2 years before 2000.
Yep.
Wait, slow down. Wait a minute.
Hey, Lance, back it up. He was valedictorian at Curtis. So
I was.
Okay. Apparently they have grades there. Who knew? But
he was also captain of the basketball team.
So I'm trying to figure out when this would have been, because we did not go to Regina. Because
you were there.
My first tuba conference was UNCG in 2002. That was
maybe that could have been it.
Yeah.
Unless you went to that trumpet conference in Canada.
I'm pretty sure. You might be right. Maybe it was 2002 in Greensboro, because I was at that one.
See. There you go. There you go. Talking to me with that stern voice. Respect your elders.
Very distinctly, I remember hearing you play, because I have a very clear memory of exactly what it sounded like. You were playing this funk jazz like bass line on tuba. You're playing like a con tuba or something.
Yep, con 52J. Yep, you got. Look at you.
Oh, on the Dvorak, right?
Yep. There were some nights when I brought that funk tone to the Dvorak unintentionally, but yeah. That was actually that gig. That was a really major gig in my life. Not only was it my first tuba conference performance, but that was the first time that either my two main teachers, Sam and Rex, like that was the first time and Sam was the one that I like played a Boston brass gig for one of my teachers. So yeah, that was a big night in my life. So
yeah, I remember it. It was. I mean, I apparently don't remember the date exactly right, but I know exactly how you sounded because it made an impression on me.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what? That's when Andrew and I met too.
That is when you and I met. That's right. That's right, Lance.
See, it's a vortex.
There you go.
That was when the butterfly flapped its wings, right at that moment.
You need the next time that you run into Pat Sheridan, you need to ask him about the captain's log. So that was a good
idea.
Okay.
There was a night when we were hanging out, and everything went sideways, and he started documenting it all.
There's a lot of stories from that trip.
Yeah, and it was titled the captain's log, and he literally has it up on the wall in his office. It's like so he can relive that evening anytime that he feels like it. So and actually every time that I go back to UNCG, which with Dennis Askew, who frequently listens to the podcast rather than being a present director for the School of Music there, he anytime
I'm sure that's not true.
And anytime, no, it's not. Anytime that I'm there, I always send a photo saying like I'm back at the origins of the captain's log, and I get lots of guffawing laughs from Sam and Pat. So, well, there you go. Well, we are we're running a little long in the tooth here. So, Seth, do you know our dear friend Jens Lindemann?
I have heard of Jens, yes. Actually, you know what? I think Jens at that thing that we were just talking about at UNCG? Was he at that conference?
He might
with you guys?
He was parking cars.
Yeah. I saw him outside.
Who is that energetic valet?
For some reason I have a memory of him being with you in that concert also, but that could be completely made up. But
maybe he sat in with us, or maybe I don't think that Jeff Connor. I think no, Jack was born before, or was that when Jack was born?
Yeah, I think he was filling in for somebody.
He might have actually been subbing for Jeff.
Yeah, man, and I remember, that was pretty amazing trumpet playing. So, I mean, it's hard for me to know that the trop problems have taken over at this point.
So, what advice do you have for Jens for these horrible chop problems that he's not really having?
Well,
heavy sigh.
I heard about this thing up in the Berkshires. And you probably know about this, Andrew, because you're up there, right?
As much as I can possibly get away with.
they have these herbal healers up there that there's like a yurt that you can find on a hillside with a naked man in it who will make this tea. That basically I think it's some kind of a mushroom compote or something.
A yurt.
Are we still talking about Jeff Connor?
Well, you tell me. Anyway, I mean, I think as far as for Jens' situation, he may need to take that potion and ride, take that journey. And maybe coming out of that, he'll have a different perspective, it'll be kind of like a Doctor Strange thing where it'll transmogrify his superpower of being a trumpet player into something that's actually useful for the world.
It's like maybe you can find someone to ride the rocket with him.
Is it? It's like we triggered something. We reminded him 5 minutes ago that he was valedictorian. He's suddenly using really big words.
Deep,
deep. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Well,
you're tapped into that community, Andrew. So you could be like the spirit guide, or whatever. I feel like that's something that we could do for him. That would be great.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, I could. Interesting.
Yeah, and if he's not down to do it, I mean, you and I could just we could do it together.
He could. We'll go down. I'll come down. We'll go to a Durham Bulls game, box. And then you bring the box. We go up. We find the yurt. Yeah, we find naked Jeff Connor on the hillside there. We consume some compote. And there you go, Jens. If you make the journey, you can stay at my summer house. Like it'll be great. So yeah,
your yurt or mine.
Do a little water skiing, a little sailing. Yeah, it'd be fun to have Jens up because when he came over to the dock to get picked up, I could just make him wait a really long time. Oh goodness. Well, that was I like that one. That one got weird. That one got real weird. Like weirder than I didn't think you had it in you, Horner. There you go.
Listen, man, I'm from the Northwest, so that's what you have to understand.
Yeah, but
we've got a different perspective on things. It's a rainy day. I'm in that mindset.
Fair enough. Yeah, it is a little, at least up here, I'm not too far north of you. It's a little Pacific Northwesty here as well.
Yeah.
So
a calming mist.
A calming mist, the Jeff Connor story. This is good. We hadn't busted any trumpet players in a while, and we just got Jibo and we got Connor both multiple times in the last
love
10 minutes.
Love Jibo.
Yep, he is
love playing with that guy.
He's a frustratingly nice man who is a phenomenal trumpet player. Good Lord, yeah, he's great. I mean, Lance isn't that impressed, but Lance doesn't really get impressed anymore.
But Lance is probably smiling right now. We can't tell.
We did, because even though Lance lives in a totally posh town, he has crap internet, so he's always pixelated. So we killed the video just to give him a chance of actually remaining internet coherent for the duration of the conversation. So, and so Seth, anything else that we should touch on?
Listen, I just like to thank you guys for making this podcast for me. And just remind myself to please pick those groceries up.
There you go.
That's gonna be a problem if we don't do that.
Whatever you do, don't remind yourself to become a patron.
Well, now that I know about that Arnold Jacobs thing, I might be more inclined to do that. I'm very into that stuff. Arnold Jacobs is like a serious interest of mine. So.
There you go. Yeah, and that podcast, to be clear, I run a Twitter feed that's at Jacobs Quotes, and which is like just twice a week. It's scheduled to release into the ether a quote from Jacobs, and the podcast. As of now, things always morph over time, but it's me choosing two of those quotes and then, waxing poetic about them and just kind of how I apply them in my own teaching or my own playing or whatnot. So, but it's pretty fun. And then also, Lance has his music practice coach podcast, which is also available to anybody at the $5 Brass Junkies level, where he talks all about. Well, he wrote an amazing book called Music Practice Coach, which you can find on Amazon, which is really, really good. It's all about goal setting and. It's got ridiculous pictures in it, but he actually wrote a book that's really good. And then for the $10 per episode level, which is 10 times 26 for the whole year, because this podcast is only every other year. Well, you get all the bonus episodes for $1, which is every other week, which is a little bit of extra time with each person. And then for the $10 level, you get all of that, plus you get Deep Thoughts with Lance, which is Lance doing a deep dive on some music-related topic that is near and dear to his heart. Each of these podcasts come out once a month, by the way, the extras. And then Mine is I've had a performance and pedagogy blog for the last 10 years or so at andrewhitz.com, and now I'm doing the performance and pedagogy podcast, which again is me talking about a couple of things. The one that I'm about to record that'll release a little bit later this month, it'll probably be around when this actually releases. I'm talking about. Marty Hackelman had a great quote: "Try to make the simple beautiful," which I really like. That's a great quote and a great lesson for all of us. So, and then there was another thing from James Clear. I'm reading this book called Atomic Habits, and a quote from that, which is "Habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery." And I was just going to talk about that. That quote kind of blew my mind. Habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery. And so just kind of talking about how I have my students apply that moving forward. So, but you can find out information about all that at patreon.com/thebrassjunkies. And so there you go. Thanks for sitting through that plug, Seth. You're a gentleman.
Yeah, man, no problem. I'm here for it.
You.
I do think you're going to get some tweets about the box from people, because I don't think I'm the only one.
Oh no, you're not. No, you're.
Yeah, I think I'm in some good company, and I think the people that are in that company are going to tweet at you probably. Yeah. So just get ready.
I'm ready. Yeah. We'll. Our social media guy.
Let's form a posse and go tell them about our mouthpiece boxes. Those guys are ridiculous. Yeah. 35, that's nothing.
I would like to say that the lateral lisp in response to you people has both times been Lance LaDuke. So who you can find at lanceleduc.com. So
what?
All right. Well, Seth, hang out for the bonus episode where we actually get even more informal, if that's possible. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, guys.
Him.
And that is going to do it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram, and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.